Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
So Zachary, when I was your age, I lived in France. I had my bar mitzvah in Israel where I lived beforehand. But I lived in France, and all of my extended family lived very far away in Canada. And I had two aunts who would, despite the distance, regularly send me letters. Almost every few months, I'd get a letter. I would get notes. I would get gifts on my birthday and for holidays. And they were very far away, but they were also close. And sometimes 4 or 5 years would pass and I wouldn't see them, but I still felt a really strong connection and a warmth, that love of family and togetherness that's so important to all of us. So tomorrow in our Parsha, we're going to be reading the culmination of all the stories of the patriarchs and of the matriarchs, our forefathers and foremothers. And this is a Parsha that's, as Zachary, you will talk about tomorrow, about the blessings of Jacob to his sons, to his grandsons, and really about their life together now in Egypt and everything they endured together. And Jacob is approaching his death, and he calls over his son, and he makes him swear to do chesed ve'emet, to do loving kindness and truth with him, and to bury him in Canaan with his fathers. So Joseph agrees to do what his father asked him to do, and he makes a pledge that he will do it. Even though he did not know how he was going to fulfill this pledge, he still says, I will make it happen. I will do it for you, my father. And so this phrase chesed ve'emet in our tradition, which means loving kindness and truth, what it's come to mean for us is really doing something, a very intimate and powerful kind of act for a loved one. And in its most simple sense, it's burying someone, giving a burial, which is an act you do when you know you're going to receive nothing in return. So much of what we do is tit for tat. You know, I'll do something nice for you and you'll do something nice back for me. But when we bury someone, we know there's going to be no return, and we fulfill their wishes even though they've departed, and sometimes often requiring effort and expense. But chesed ve'emet is even more than that. It's also the act of my aunts, right? One day maybe I would reciprocate as a good nephew, and I've tried, but they were sending letters and gifts into the great unknown, into the ocean. Why were they doing it? Because they had big open hearts and loved family and who we were. And it was loving kindness, and it was coming from a place of truth and come from a place of true heart. It was kind and loving. And so our tradition's teachings developed that chesed ve'emet is how we should live all of life. And this is how we emulate God, by living kindness and spreading that truth and that goodness. And by doing so, we believe we have the power of fulfilling our mission as the Jewish people and fulfilling the Torah, and one day arriving to that time when the Lamb will lie down with the wolf. But for us, it begins with our families, and then it extends to our communities and to the wider world and beyond. But in our families is where we're first challenged to find that place of doing those acts of loving kindness and truth. So I was reflecting, Zachary, and I've been moved by all the close connections that you have with your siblings, and the respect you seem to have for each other, and the special togetherness that your whole family has, and really hold on to it and know that that will keep feeding your heart and keep feeding your soul, and always remind you how to walk in the world as your highest self, and being able to bring that warmth to everything you do and all the places that you will go. And there's this very beautiful passage at the end of our parasha, where at the end Joseph fulfills what his father asked of him. And he's an Egyptian official, an important one. And so he comes with a whole retinue to Canaan to bury his father. And he stops at the border, and then he walks up to Hebron. And there Jacob is buried in what must have been one of the grandest burials of the time. And Joseph really loved his father, and his father really loved him. And he filled his heart with truth and kindness to do what his father had asked him. We must imagine that his divine father also watched down with pride and love. Shabbat Shalom.